Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So today we're in my kitchen and we're going to be cooking. So we're going to be making a really simple recipe today. We're actually going to be making a carrot cake. It's actually one of my mom's favorite recipes. It's super simple. You don't need to have a lot of knowledge about cooking or baking or anything like that. You don't have a scale, you don't have measuring cups. Don't worry, I got you covered. This is really easy. I also have a gluten-free alternatives if you want. Very easy, adaptable. Texture is the same, taste is the same. Perfect for those who are sensitive or, celiacs as well. So I will have all of the ingredients listed down below. I will have all the measurements and everything listed. I will also have them on screen. Follow along with me, write it down, follow along with the video, and hopefully you will enjoy this video as much as I enjoy making them, and subscribe to keep up to date with all of my videos, and let's get into this! So this carrot cake is incredibly simple and it's also incredibly forgiving. So if you don't have all of the measurements completely correct, it's not a problem. Also, if you don't have all of the correct measurement tools, it's also not a problem. If you don't have cups to measure out, don't worry, you can use a glass. If you don't have a scale, you don't exactly need one. The cake is very forgiving, so a little bit more, a little bit less, it doesn't matter. I have 2 cups of plain flour. I have about 1.5 to 1 3/4 cups of white sugar. If you have a sweet tooth, you can add a little bit more sugar. If you don't have such a sweet tooth, add a little bit less sugar. The carrots usually add more sweetness to the cake, so if you're not too crazy about sweetness, put 1.5. I have 1.5 cups of sunflower oil, about 2 cups of grated carrots. I use about 6 normal sized carrots grated here. We're going to be using 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and if you're like me, you can add more cinnamon, 4 eggs, and about 3/4 cups of chopped hazelnuts. If you like hazelnuts, you can add more hazelnuts, it's completely up to you. And if you like, you can also add a different mixture of nuts as well. And my method of cooking and baking especially is to have everything organized. I think if you're organized from the start, weigh out all of your ingredients, then your baking is going to be so much easier. Just weigh everything out, organize everything out, put them in different bowls so you know what you're doing. You're not going to be running around like a headless chicken, searching for ingredients and then halfway realizing, okay, I don't have this and I don't have that. So just organize everything, weigh it out, sort it out, so you know you have everything and you can start baking. So here we go. We have everything, now we can start assembling this cake. I'm just grabbing a bowl, and in the bowl I'm going to mix the flour, I'm going to mix in the bicarbonate of soda. This is 1.5 teaspoon. 1.5. Don't have to be very precise. Some salt, also 1.5. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I'm going to add some cinnamon. And I love cinnamon, so I'm going to probably add about 3 teaspoons. Because I love cinnamon. If you don't like cinnamon, just only add a little. I'm going to be adding the sugar in. Now I have about 1.5 cup of sugar. Just plain white sugar. 1.5 cup of sunflower oil. Now this cake doesn't have any butter. For those that are lactose intolerant, like myself, This is the perfect solution because you're not using any butter or any lactose whatsoever. and also those with celiac, instead of using the normal flour, you can use rice flour as a substitution. Works perfectly the same, texture's the same, so you can have your cake being gluten-free and lactose-free and have the exact same texture of the cake, and it works fantastic. So we've added in the sunflower oil, now we're going to add in the eggs. We'll be adding in 4 eggs. I'm just going to take a spatula and just incorporate the ingredients. See, it comes together very quickly already. Just have a look that there's no lumps from the flour or anything through it. You can see it's a very silky, smooth texture. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in the grated carrots. Just have a feel. If your carrots are really wet, just squeeze out a little bit of the excess moisture. If there's too much moisture in your cake's going to be too wet. So these carrots are not too bad, but I know that in some countries there's more water in the carrots than carrot, if that makes sense. So if there's too much water in the carrot, it's just going to be a soggy mess. So just have a look and feel if you can feel that there's just too much moisture, just squeeze out the excess. So chuck that in. There's only a little bit of moisture coming out of here. Some moisture is good because that's where the flavor is, but too much is not good. We have this beautiful carrot. Just going to mix that in with the spatula. So I've already preheated my oven to 180 degrees. My oven heats up very quickly. And I've put it on the fan setting. Now it looks already perfect. So now at this point we're just going to chop our hazelnuts and throw that through the mixture, and that is it. I like to be quite generous with the hazelnuts, and what I also like to do is I like to chop some of them fine and some of them quite coarse, and what it does is it creates a nice texture difference in the actual cake. You can use any nuts. I think this is a nice combination. What is also a nice combination is walnuts. Just be generous. Generous is always good. So this recipe really is super simple. There's not much to it. And the good thing is there's just a nice alternative for, you know, people who are gluten intolerant or prefer to have a gluten-free option, and those that are, like myself, lactose intolerant. So you're not using any milk, you're not using any butter. I suppose it's also a little bit healthier because you're not using butter, and technically it's a salad because you're using carrots. Who says cakes aren't healthy? So, just fold this through, and then this bad boy is ready to go into the oven. So normally I use a silicone mold purely because I think they're easier to work with. I've always had very good experiences with them because they don't stick. I've just thrown away my silicone mold because I need a new one, so I'm using a metal mold and I've just lined it with baking paper. This is just to make sure that it doesn't stick. You can use anything. My preference still goes to silicone molds, but yeah, use anything. All we're just going to do is pop it in a mold. Scrape out all the last bits. You don't want anything to go to waste. And this will now go into the oven. So this goes first into the oven uncovered, and once it gets a bit of color, we're going to cover it with some foil. So I've put it now in on 180 degrees on a fan oven, and it should cook for about 40 to 45 minutes, and I'll keep an eye on it. If it starts to get a bit of color, then I'm going to cover it with just some aluminium foil, and I will continue to bake it. So I've taken the cake out now, and I'm going to cover it with some foil because, as you can see, it's getting quite dark now at the top. So I'm just going to cover it with foil just to protect it. It's not done yet, and you can tell it's not done yet because it's still quite wobbly in the center. So all I'm going to do is just cover it with foil, and I'm going to put it back in the oven probably for another 10 to 15 minutes. So just be careful when doing this. The tray is going to be incredibly hot. Don't do what I'm doing, cover your hands. So just cover it like that, so the top's nicely covered, and pop it back in the oven. So I've taken the cake out of the oven now, and I've uncovered it, and I've checked it. It's not wobbly anymore. It's all okay. So this is the completed cake. At the moment I'm just going to leave it now to cool, and then eventually I will take it out of the mold. Now I always leave it in the tin itself to cool down because it just keeps its shape nicely, and it's just easiest just to leave it in there. So once it's completely cooled, then you can take it out. It's easiest, you know, if you have this metal tin, just to use the baking paper to take it out. If you have a silicone mold, just pop the mold to the side and it should pop out easily. Once it's cooled down, you can add some icing to it if you want. It's a personal preference or not. I will actually put in the description box a recipe for some icing, a cream cheese icing that will go perfectly with this. It's really simple, really easy. I hope this was easy to follow. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I hope you enjoyed it.
When the rest of me is down, you enchant me, even when you're not around. If there are boundaries, I will try to knock them down. I'm latching on, babe. Now I know what I have found. Bye.